Prince Harry. He's a rebel, sensitive by nature, mommy's favorite, and a spare son to his father. The red-haired prince caused trouble for the British royal family from childhood and remains a pain in the neck for them to this day. Prince Harry is the younger son of Princess Diana and Prince Charles, now King Charles III. Today, we'll discuss why he is resentful of his father, when he swallowed a live goldfish, and how he was called a racist and later started fighting racism after meeting his wife. Watch this video to learn about the turbulent youth and shocking behavior of Prince Harry. Prince Harry. How the spare prince became the main rebel in the royal family. The full name of Prince Harry is Henry Charles Albert David. He was born on September 15, 1984 at St. Mary's Hospital in central London. The boy became the second son of Prince Charles and his wife, Princess Diana, as well as the fourth of Queen Elizabeth II's 8 grandchildren. Harry's only sibling, Prince William, is the heir apparent to the British throne. Harry himself used to be the third in line, but now his brother's children are placed ahead of him. The christening ceremony of the younger prince was conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury in the St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. Harry spent his early years in Jane Maynard's nursery school, where his mother, Princess Diana, worked in her youth. From childhood, the boy was known for his stubborn, rebellious, and lively character. As the younger son, he had fewer responsibilities and was controlled less than his older brother William. At the same time, he got less attention and care from his family. For example, when visiting his great-grandmother, the Queen Mother, it was always his older brother who received treats first, while Harry had to watch it, waiting for his turn. This fact greatly upset Princess Diana. She believed that her children should be treated equally, but since William was the heir to the throne, convincing anyone to do this was impossible, so the mother tried to give Harry all her love. The younger son was her favorite, so Diana spoiled him greatly. Prince Charles, on the contrary, preferred the calm and prudent William, while the behavior of the younger son irritated him. Some say that his attitude was partially influenced by rumors that Harry was not his son. The tabloids wrote a lot about who else could be the father of the red-haired prince. Despite the rumors, the public and the paparazzi loved little Prince Harry, as the boy always found new ways to surprise everyone. He often stuck out his tongue, smiled, and posed for journalists who could earn more from such photos thanks to him. Harry and his older brother William spent their childhood at Kensington Palace in London, as well as at Highgrove House in Gloucestershire. Diana actively participated in her children's lives and did everything possible to give them a normal childhood. She took them to Walt Disney Park, they dined at McDonald's, and went to the cinema. Members of the royal family were not supposed to carry cash, but the princess wanted her sons to understand the value of money, so she allowed them to buy what they wanted in a small shop near their home. Diana also insisted that the children engage in social activities from their childhood. The sons visited animal shelters and hospitals and helped the poor. Over time, Harry began to accompany his parent on official visits to various countries. At the same time, he studied at the Wetherby Prep School and then entered the elite Ludgrove School in Berkshire. In 1996, when the boy was 11 years old, his parents officially divorced. The scandals and tense family relationships were hard for Harry, but even after the divorce, Diana continued to pay a lot of attention to her children. Moreover, she even introduced Harry and William to her new partner, Dodi Fayed, taking them on vacation with them. Reporters took photos of Diana and her son relaxing on a luxurious yacht together with Fayed. A few months after their vacation together, Prince Charles had to tell the children that their mother had died in a car accident. At that time, Harry was just 12 years old. According to his memories, his father didn't even hug him, leaving the child alone with his grief. At the funeral, Harry accompanied Charles, his brother, grandfather, and uncle on his mother's side, Charles Spencer, during the funeral procession. Harry and William inherited just over $16 million left by Lady Spencer on their 30th birthdays. In 2002, The Times reported that Harry would also share $6 million with his brother from trust funds created by their great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, on the day each of them turned 21. Also, as a member of the royal family, he was granted a personal coat of arms based on the arms of the monarch of the United Kingdom on his 18th birthday. After his mother's death, Harry's behavior became even more reckless. Due to grief, his character began to deteriorate, and his academic performance dropped as well. By the way, at that time, he was already studying at Eton College. From a young age, he started drinking alcohol, behaving provocatively, and experimenting with various substances. His first lover was Sasha Walpole, an older friend with whom he secluded himself behind a pub, heavily intoxicated in 2001. In his memoir, he wrote that the partner was a mature and experienced woman, but in reality, Walpole was only 2 years older. Shortly after that, the prince began dating Emma Lippiatt, and after some time, he was seen with Natalie Pinkham, with whom he continued to be friends and go to clubs even after their breakup. In January 2003, Harry completed his education at Eton. He received excellent recommendations, describing him as a top-tier athlete who participated in polo and rugby competitions. However, one of his former teachers, Sarah Forsyth, started a huge scandal. The woman claimed that Harry was a weak student and studying was so difficult for him that literally all the teachers, including the head of the department, had to help him pass exams. The prince and his other teachers vehemently called her claims slander. After college, Harry took a year off and traveled the world. He first went to Australia, then to Argentina, and then to Africa, where, after visiting Lesotho, he decided to make a documentary film called The Forgotten Kingdom about AIDS issues and orphan children. During this period, the prince had a relationship with Laura Gerard Lee, a stockbroker's daughter. Soon, they broke up because of the intrusive press, which began to follow the girl's family. In late 2004, Harry began dating Chelsea Davy. The young people had known each other since childhood, but their romance began only when they met in South Africa. The girl was born in Zimbabwe into the family of a South African safari farmer. The couple began to regularly appear together in public. However, the girlfriend couldn't tame the nature of her lover, and the prince continued to lead a wild life, getting into various scandals. When he was 20, all the magazines were filled with naked photos of Harry playing strip billiards with his friends. Once, the prince couldn't contain himself and attacked an intrusive photographer. Harry hated the paparazzi, not only because they behaved intrusively and provocatively, but also because he believed them to be responsible for his mother's death. Because of this, conflicts between journalists and Prince Harry continued to this day. On May 8, 2005, Harry entered the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, where he was known as Officer Cadet Wales. Despite the family's demands to behave in accordance with his royal status, Harry continued to party and get into scandals. He swallowed a live goldfish to win a bet, inhaled nitrous oxide from a balloon, and attended parties naked, while his security chased bystanders, trying to take away their phones with compromising photos. The prince also had relationships with actress Cassie Sumner and model Lauren Pope. These romances occurred during breaks where he broke up with his main girlfriend, Chelsea. But the most notable trouble occurred in 2005, at his friend's celebration, where Harry came wearing a suit with a swastika armband. It immediately appeared on all the newspaper covers and outraged the public. Harry publicly apologized, explaining that the costume choice was an ill-conceived joke and that he didn't want to offend anyone. On April 9, 2005, Prince Charles married Camilla Parker Bowles. Some say that Harry was not happy about this union. In fact, his mother simply hated Camilla, and her younger son, entirely devoted to his mother, must have inherited this feeling. At the same time, he supported his father's second wife in public. In 2006, there was a racist scandal involving the younger prince. He called one of his fellow soldiers a slang term that derogatorily refers to a Pakistani. In the same year, during a vacation with his older brother and former girlfriend Natalie Pinkham, Harry ended up in a compromising photo with her, although he was dating Chelsea Davy at the time. A similar story happened at the Spearmint Rhino nightclub, where the prince went with his fellow soldiers. Although his girlfriend Chelsea kept her feelings to herself and never gave any comments to the media, we know that during their relationship, the couple broke up and got back together at least 3 times. In April 2006, Harry completed his officer training and was commissioned as a cornet in the British Army's Household Cavalry. At the same time, it was announced that the following year, his unit would be deployed in Iraq. This was followed by public debates about whether he should serve there, as it would attract additional attention and put him or his comrades at risk. In October 2006, Harry completed a troop leader's course and returned to his regiment in Windsor, where he was put in charge of a troop of 11 soldiers. In 2006, Prince Harry, together with Prince Sieso of Lesotho, launched the charitable organization Sentabale in Africa to help orphans and underprivileged children gain access to healthcare and education. At that time, Harry was seen with yet another girlfriend, Catherine Ashley O'Mani, but they only went on just a few dates. Despite his reputation as a playboy, the prince took his military service seriously. In early 2007, it was reported that Harry had arrived in Canada to train with soldiers from the Canadian Forces and the British Army. Later that same year, he underwent training in preparation for deployment to Afghanistan. He was secretly deployed as a Joint Terminal Attack Controller. This information emerged after the German newspaper Bild and the Australian magazine New Idea published the classified data. Harry had to be pulled out from combat immediately due to concerns that media exposure would jeopardize his own and his comrades' safety. Harry's military service made him the first member of the British royal family to serve in combat since his uncle, Prince Andrew, who flew helicopters during the Falklands War. In May 2008, his aunt, Princess Anne, awarded him the Operational Service Medal for Afghanistan. In October, it was announced that Harry would follow in his brother, father, and uncle's footsteps and learn to fly military helicopters. Harry attended the Defense Helicopter Flying School at RAF Shawbury. In early 2009, Chelsea Davy, Harry's girlfriend, announced their breakup on Facebook. After that, Harry was seen with Astrid Harbord, and shortly after that, he was introduced to Caroline Flack, whom he described as funny, sweet, and cool. According to Harry, they dated for a while before the intrusive press scared the girl off and damaged their relationship once and for all. In September of the same year, Harry reconciled with Chelsea and they dated until the summer of 2010. Later, Chelsea revealed that she simply couldn't handle the media attention. She admitted that she wasn't ready to live her entire life under the paparazzi scrutiny, so she fled from England to Africa to be with her father, completely breaking off her relationship with Harry. After that, Harry briefly dated Norwegian singer Camilla. In April 2011, Harry was promoted to captain in the Army Air Corps. Shortly after that, his brother William married Kate Middleton. Harry attended the ceremony with his ex-girlfriend Chelsea. The public assumed that the couple had reunited, especially since Chelsea was well received by the royal family. However, after the wedding, Chelsea turned to Africa, refusing any further relationships with the prince. Harry remained single for a while before starting a short romance with socialite Florence Brudenell Bruce, a model and actress. Their relationship lasted only a few months. In May, Harry appeared on the cover of GQ magazine, which became the best-selling issue of the year. Shortly afterward, at the London office of the global brokerage firm BGC Partners, Prince Harry tried his hand at stockbroking and set a world record by closing the largest deal worth 18 billion euros between a British bank and a European partner during the annual charity trading day. In November 2011, Harry went to an airfield in the east of England to complete his training to fly helicopters. In September 2012, he arrived in southern Afghanistan as part of the Army Air Corps to begin a 4-month combat tour as a co-pilot and gunner. In December, a British tabloid reported that while flying a helicopter, Prince Harry had destroyed one of the Taliban leaders. In Britain, Prince Harry lived in Clarence House for a long time, and after his first royal tour, he moved to a 1-bedroom apartment at Kensington Palace. He was still seen with models, aristocrats, and actresses. He was rumored to be dating singer Molly King and pop star Ellie Goulding. But it wasn't until 2012 that Harry began a serious relationship with British dancer, model, and actress Cressida Bonas, which lasted for 2 years. Before meeting the prince, she was known as a socialite with aristocratic roots and was friends with Princess Eugenie, Harry's cousin, who introduced the couple. Harry completed his service as a pilot in 2014 and became a staff officer, organizing military ceremonies. At his initiative, the Invictus Games were launched. It's an international competition for disabled former servicemen. By that moment, Harry had already had experience with sports competitions, as he was the official ambassador for the English team at the 2012 Olympics and Paralympic Games. In January 2014, the Ministry of Defense announced that Harry had completed his attachment to 3 Regiment Army Air Corps and had taken up the position of staff officer at the headquarters of the London District. His duties included assisting in coordinating important projects and commemorative events in London. That same year, Harry and William inherited their mother's estate, including her wedding dress, jewels, letters, and paintings. By the way, around that time in America, the reality show I Want to Marry Harry aired, where single people competed for the attention of a look-alike of the British prince. At the same time, rumors swirled that the real Harry began dating Miss Edinburgh, Camilla Thurlow, and in 2015, there were talks of his romance with Greek princess Maria Olympia. He was also rumored to be in a relationship with actress Emma Watson. In January 2015, it was reported that Harry would take on a new role in supporting wounded servicemen. On March 17 of the same year, Kensington Palace announced that the prince would leave the armed forces in June, which he did. Harry described his 10 years in the army as the happiest times of his life. After leaving the army, he actively collaborated with the armed forces, participating in the Invictus Games and other official events. In 2016, our hero began a relationship with American actress Meghan Markle. Initially, the couple kept their budding romance secret, but in the fall of the same year, journalists spotted them strolling together in central London, and the photos immediately went viral worldwide. In 2017, Harry took the role of Captain General Royal Marines, succeeding his grandfather Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. A year later, the prince became the Commonwealth Youth Ambassador and personal aide-de-camp to Queen Elizabeth II. Surveys showed that during that period, Prince Harry became the most popular member of the royal family, reminding Britons of his mother Diana. The prince's personal life was also discussed by everyone. Rumor had it that Queen Elizabeth II of Britain was not happy about her grandson's choice, as for the sake of the crown, all members of the royal family should marry their equals, not just follow their hearts. However, Harry persisted in his decision, and on November 27, it was announced that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were engaged. Their wedding took place on May 19, 2018. Members of the royal family, celebrities, and ordinary people attended the celebration. Markle was escorted to the altar by the future King Charles III, as her father did not attend. The couple chose a Jaguar E-Type for their wedding, costing over $100,000, and the bride wore a luxurious tiara made of diamonds and platinum, formerly owned by Queen Mary of Teck. The wedding decorations alone cost $186,000. Overall, according to some estimates, the royal family spent $3 million on the wedding, not including security costs. After the ceremony, the newlyweds were granted the titles of Duke and Duchess of Sussex and settled in Kensington Palace. It was soon revealed that Meghan Markle was pregnant. The couple's first child, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor, was born on May 6, 2019. The family then moved to Frogmore Cottage, located near Windsor Castle. The building was in dire need of renovation, and the reconstruction cost $3.8 million, including renovation of the floors, stairs, fireplaces, heating system, hot water, and electricity. In October 2019, Harry and his wife declared war on the tabloids that published information about their every move and often criticized their actions. They filed lawsuits against 3 newspapers. In the same month, the film Harry and Meghan: An African Journey was released, where the couple gave a candid interview and talked about the unbearable pressure of the media. In early 2020, the spouses made an official statement that they were stepping back from royal duties while keeping their titles of Duke and Duchess of Sussex. It was also said in the statement that the couple planned to stop using the UK funding and would earn money independently. The news caused a stir and seriously damaged the reputation of the royal family. Queen Elizabeth II urgently convened a family council to discuss the situation, and by the end of January, it was announced that she had officially stripped Harry and his wife of their titles. In addition to the title, Prince Harry lost his military patronage appointments and the title of Captain General Royal Marines, which he had received in 2017. After relinquishing their royal duties, Harry and Meghan planned to split time between 2 homes, in the UK and Canada. They headed overseas and rented a 10,000 square foot mansion on Vancouver Island for $14 million. The Sussex couple stayed in Canada for a short period as they were followed by paparazzi, and in a few months they moved to the United States. Initially, they resided in the estate of actor and director Tyler Perry in Beverly Hills, worth $18 million. This luxurious hilltop 24,000 square foot home features a pool and tennis court. By the way, the Sussex couple did not meet the property owner until he offered them his help and provided round-the-clock security. In August 2020, the Duke and Duchess acquired their own home in Montecito, California, costing them $14 million. Their 18,000 square foot home boasts 9 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, a pool, a tennis court, rose gardens, and an olive grove. The property also includes a tea house, a cottage for guests, and a chicken coop with rescued birds from a commercial farm. The royal couple's neighborhoods are A-list celebrities such as Oprah Winfrey and Ariana Grande. In October of the same year, Harry and Meghan officially launched the charitable organization Archwell. Later, Harry was invited to join the Aspen Institute's Commission on Information Disorder as he was a philanthropist and founder of the foundation. In March 2021, Harry and Meghan gave their scandalous interview to Oprah Winfrey. According to the prince, he had talked to his grandmother Queen Elizabeth II 3 times and his father 2 times since stepping back from royal duties. And after that, his father stopped taking his calls and suggested he send written messages. Harry admitted that he would never have left his family if it wasn't for marrying Meghan, but she found it difficult to adjust to the palace's traditions and wanted to live her life in her own way. For example, Meghan and Harry broke the long-standing tradition of spending Christmas with the Queen, which drew widespread criticism. All this pressure took a toll on Markle. leading to her depression. Meghan said that she had felt trapped due to enforced isolation. Another upsetting moment for the Duchess was a question raised by someone in the royal family about how dark their child's skin would be before Archie was born. Meghan deemed the remark racist. In the same conversation with Oprah, Meghan revealed that 3 days before the official wedding ceremony, she and Harry had a private ceremony just for themselves. After ceasing to receive financial support, the couple had to work to earn money, which they successfully managed to do. They signed a contract with the American service Spotify for a sum ranging from $15 to $18 million to release podcasts. But the most lucrative deal happened in September 2020, when Netflix signed an agreement with Harry and his wife for the production of documentaries, feature films, and children's programs worth $100 to $150 million. Additionally, the prince has an inheritance left by Princess Diana. In 2021, he took on a chief position at BetterUp, a California-based startup offering online counseling for mental health, with which he released a short promotional interview video emphasizing the importance of mental health. His salary is not disclosed, but in California companies, the salary for such positions can be 6 or 7 figures. On June 4, 2021, Harry and Meghan welcomed their daughter, whom they named Lilibet Diana. On February 24, 2022, during the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle released a statement expressing their solidarity with Ukrainians and condemning Russian aggression. On September 8, 2022, Harry flew to the Queen's Scottish residence because of the news of her deteriorating health condition, but unfortunately failed to see his grandmother. He learned of Queen Elizabeth's death while on the plane. Harry attended her funeral with his wife, attracting public attention, but the couple returned to America immediately after the ceremony. In December, a documentary series titled Harry and Meghan was launched on Netflix, which was immediately named scandalous and shocking by the global media. Starting with the memories of their meeting and the beginning of their romance, the film again touched on the topics of bullying, racism, and aggression towards the two lovers. Some say that King Charles III's reaction was sharp. He threatened to cut ties with his younger son and daughter-in-law once and for all. Around the same time, Harry appeared in an ad as part of an environment campaign, but the public was more intrigued by the upcoming memoir of the prince, co-written with journalist John Maringer. The book was released in January 2023, becoming a bombshell. The title was explained by the prince as being derived from his father's words when Harry was born, thanking his wife for giving him both an heir and a spare. The book immediately became a bestseller. Almost 1.5 million copies were sold on the first day alone. Harry revealed many facts about his life, including his time in the military, substance abuse in his youth, and much more in the book. After the publication of Harry's memoir, the majority of Britons turned away from him, and his ratings dropped catastrophically. However, the prince's income sharply increased. He received a $20 million advance as part of the book deal. In March 2023, the celebrity couple baptized their daughter. Meghan's mother attended the ceremony, and Tyler Perry became the godfather. However, despite invitations sent, no representatives of the royal family were present. And nevertheless, both Lilibet Diana and her brother Archie were granted new royal titles, Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex. They say that Charles III's response to his son's revelations was the deprivation of his residence, Frogmore, in Britain. This estate was given to the heir as a wedding gift by his late grandmother. However, in May 2023, Harry was invited to his father's coronation ceremony, but he attended it without the spouse. Soon after that, tabloids began reporting on Harry and Meghan's decision to live separately. Allegedly, Harry was planning a trip to Africa for the filming of a documentary for Netflix, while Meghan remained in America. But the rumors were not confirmed, and the couple is still together. Over the past few years, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been actively involved in creating and participating in numerous projects, with an estimated income of over $135 million. Harry's personal fortune, according to experts' estimates, is $60 million. The couple prioritizes their safety and reportedly spends around $3 million annually on their security. Additionally, from a young age, Harry has been passionate about cars and even has a collection. He owns reliable Range Rover SUVs worth around $220,000 and a Land Rover Defender priced at $145,000. Harry is also a fan of Audi. His collection includes an RS6 Avant model, which can go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.6 seconds and costs $125,000, as well as the Audi e-tron and e-tron GT for $110,000 and $150,000, respectively. Moreover, Harry has been spotted in a Jaguar F-Type costing $175,000 and a Cadillac Escalade for $110,000. 2024 is expected to be quite profitable for Harry, as on his 40th birthday, he will inherit £8 million left by the Queen Mother to the two brothers. Additionally, our hero has various projects and podcasts planned on which the eccentric prince will surely surprise us with his stories. Do you support Harry's decision to leave the royal family and live in his own way? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Prince William and Kate Middleton, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, the favorites of the Brits and the delights of the royal court, joined their destinies more than a decade ago. During this time, they traveled all over the world, presented their heirs to the throne, actively engaged in charity work, and stayed with the royal family in the most difficult of times. But there is also smudges on this beautiful picture, wild antics of relatives, scandals, as well as piquant rumors about the prince's infidelity. We have prepared this video to help you understand how the royal family lives. How Kate Middleton and Prince William live. Is the family of the people's favorites that perfect? Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born in the English county of Berkshire on January 9, 1982, to a wealthy family. But without having aristocratic roots, Kate's mother and father were literally united by the sky, since both worked for British Airways. She was a flight attendant and he was an air traffic controller, and then a pilot. The couple had two more children, Philippa Pippa Charlotte and James William. The mother of the family was an amazing seamstress who sewed carnival costumes for children. In 1986, the hobby turned into a mail-order party accessories business, Party Pieces, which eventually made them millionaires. The company still exists to this day. Katie's childhood could be called quite prosperous. The children grew up in a beautiful house full of love and studied at St. Andrew's School, where Kate first encountered her future husband. Prince William Arthur Philip Louis, grandson of the reigning Queen Elizabeth II of England, was born on June 21, 1982, in the family of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. At birth, the boy received the title of Duke of Cambridge and is still the heir to the British throne, second in line, giving way only to his father. The childhood of the little prince was quite happy. His mother helped him with everything and was far-sighted enough to try to raise her son in the most democratic conditions. Diane insisted that William attend the Berkshire Pension School with other children. Prince studied arithmetic, literacy, and played soccer with his classmates. He adored sports, deciding to seriously start playing rugby and hockey. It was while playing hockey in his elite school's team that the prince was first seen by 9-year-old Kate, who was rooting for the players of her school. In college, William also studied diligently and led a very modest student life, not even having a TV in his room. Kate also became a student at the prestigious Marlborough College, from which she graduated brilliantly, and during her studies she dated William Marks. According to her friends, it was the future Duchess's first love. The death of Princess Diana in August 1997 shocked the whole world. On the day when this terrible news came, 15-year-old William and his father, grandmother, and brother were vacationing in their Scottish Balmoral estate. Already troubled about the breakup of his parents, which had occurred a year earlier, William fell into despair. After the news that the alleged culprit of Lady Diana's death was the paparazzi car chasing her, he developed a fierce hatred of all journalists. Later, the princess's bodyguard would be blamed for the accident, and there would also be persistent rumors that British intelligence MI6 was involved in the death, and the order for the murder allegedly came from the royal family. The funeral ceremony was watched live by 2.5 million people around the world, an unheard-of figure in the history of television at the time. This loss was tragic for Great Britain, not to mention her sons. This trauma haunted William for another 20 years. He was on the verge of a breakdown and sought help from a psychoanalyst. At that time, the prince spent a lot of time with a girl from a very wealthy and noble family, Dalvina Duckworth Chad. All their relatives dreamed of their engagement, but the young people themselves seemed to have exclusively platonic feelings for each other, and soon Rose Farquhar appeared in William's life. They met, as aristocrats should, on a traditional fox hunt, but their affair lasted only one summer of 2000, when the heir to the throne had just graduated from college. After a difficult period in his life and graduation from college, the young prince decided to take a little rest. and like many Britons of his age, took time to travel the world, charity work, and even work on a small dairy farm. At the same time, there was also not a very long affair between the prince and the head of the PR department of the Gucci fashion house, Arabella Musgrave. This was followed by admission to the University of St. Andrews, where he met the charming Catherine Middleton. However, at first he had affairs with an ordinary girl, Carly Massey-Birch, and the daughter of a famous London doctor, Olivia Hunt. Like William, right after college, Catherine decided to take a one-year break from her studies before going to the university, and devoted it to traveling to both Italy and Chile, volunteering and studying art history, which she always liked. They say the girl had made the decision to enroll in St. Andrews consciously, hoping to meet the prince there, because even at school his poster was hanging in her room. However, most likely this is speculation, because there she began to date lawyer Rupert Finch, with whom she remained on friendly terms with later. In 2002, during a fashion show organized by students, an elegant dark-haired beauty, Catherine, appeared on the podium in a translucent dress that barely hid her naked body. The prince was smitten on the spot and did not take his eyes off of Kate. He even forgot that his girlfriend Olivia Hunt was watching the show next to him, who did not yet suspect that her plans for the heir to the British throne were hanging by a thread. By the way, the lucky dress itself, which so shocked the prince and played a very important role in the love story of the future spouses, was subsequently sold at an auction for $104,000. On that spring day in 2002, after the show, William invited the girl for a drink, but it didn't go any further than a drink. Kate didn't let herself be kissed, which attracted the prince even more. But the prince's insistence was strong, and soon they began to date and even moved in together. However, for a long time the couple assured everyone of their sincere friendship. The paparazzi weren't wasting any time and literally began to pursue the prince's beloved. William, who had already suffered so much from the press, gradually lost patience, and as a result, in 2005, Middleton's lawyer openly appealed to journalists to leave Catherine alone and respect her right to privacy. Editors of all media were urged not to publish pictures of the girl and her family taken without their consent. The reason was a photo of Kate, who was commuting on a regular London bus for a job interview. Like any young couple, Kate and William had scandals. Mutual claims grew. The prince's affair surfaced with the representative of the banking dynasty, Isabella Anstruther-Galf Carthorpe, then with Jessica Craig, the daughter of a close friend of Prince Charles. It even got to the point that after 2 years of the relationship, Kate went to France with friends and found solace in the arms of a local from a wealthy family, Henry Ropner. So this beautiful story could have ended there, but then Kate's wise and far-sighted mother intervened. She recommended that her daughter reconcile with William, but keep him at some distance so that he would have time to miss her. So Miss Middleton did that, and by 2007, such tactics seemed to be drawing a future engagement closer and closer. But clubs, the girls, and the prince's hobbies got in the way of the marriage again. This time, the girl announced the breakup to him, and unexpectedly hit the jackpot. Fearing to lose the devoted Kate, the heir to the British throne asked for forgiveness, and in November 2010, he proposed. The engagement took place in Kenya, where William presented his mother's ring to the bride, and the wedding itself was held on April 29, 2011, at the St. Peter's Church in London, the main place of all the solemn and sad events of the British monarchs. The newlyweds were accompanied by the groom's brother Prince Harry and the bride's sister Pippa. Kate looked stunning that day, in a dress by Sarah Burton, designer of the Alexander McQueen fashion house, worth almost $500,000, and a royal family tiara made by Cartier, decorated with a scattering of the purest diamonds. Despite the fact that the bride could choose any famous makeup artist, she preferred to apply makeup on her own for this crucial day. It was a message to the British. The wife of a potential king of the country does not waste taxpayers' money. By the way, Catherine also did not show a special passion for jewelry. During the entire time of her marriage, she was seen in Elizabeth's tiaras no more than a dozen times. Prince William looked great at his wedding, dressed in the ceremonial military uniform of a colonel of the Irish Army, as this is the honorary title he officially has. After all the official ceremonies, William and Kate were proclaimed the Duke and Duchess of the Cambridge. The event was so anticipated and interesting that about 2 billion people around the world gathered to watch it live on YouTube. Almost 2,000 people gathered offline, including notable aristocrats and celebrities. Guy Ritchie, the Beckhams, Elton John, and others arrived to congratulate the young people. By the way, some of William's former lovers were also present at the ceremony. In total, $32 million was spent on the ceremony. The wedding cake cost $80,000. Flowers cost almost $1 million, and the rest was spent on festivities, entertainment events, and security. Such high expenses, despite a background of a not-so-good financial situation, caused discontent among those who opposed the monarchy, despite the fact that it was announced that the bride's parents also participated in paying for the celebration, and the wedding day itself was declared a state holiday. And even the fact that the wedding attracted 1 million tourists to London, the royal family was still reproached. After the wedding, the newlyweds went on a short trip, spending their honeymoon in a private secluded villa in the Seychelles. Usually any fairy tale ends right there. For the two Cambridges, little had changed, as they continued to live the same way they lived before, considering they have known each other for a long time, and by the time of the official reunion, they managed to work out their worries about each other together. There was no issues like that. The couple plunged headlong into the usual royal work, attending official events, charity, and traveling around both the country and the world. The couple promotes a healthy lifestyle, openness, family values, and sports. Prince William even recorded a podcast for Apple Watch users who are actively engaged in sports and, above all, walking, talking about why everyone in his family walks a lot and how it helps them restore their mental balance. But there is also a little bit of a downside to their otherwise beautiful union. From time to time, the family of the Duke and Duchess were shaken by numerous scandals, especially from the royal family's point of view. For example, the paparazzi once caught Kate relaxing on a beach in France. The Duchess was feeling comfortable and felt it was okay to sunbathe topless. Pictures of Kate naked shot across the world, and the court was furious. A number of statements followed, and as a result, the royal family sued the publication. After 6 long years of proceedings, the court recognized that the Duchess's right to privacy had indeed been violated. On July 22, 2013, Kate and William had new responsibilities as royals. They became parents for the first time. The couple's first child, Prince George of Cambridge, was born in the same London clinic as William himself. The young dad was present at the birth and touchingly supported his wife. Soon the family was awaiting another addition. On April 9, 2015, Charlotte Elizabeth Diana, or just Lottie, was born. It is noteworthy that Charlotte became the first British princess who, thanks to the amendments to the law on succession, can have claims to the throne after her older brother. Previously, priority was given to male line heirs. In the same year, rumors of William's infidelities were brought back. It was rumored that after his marriage, he resumed his relationship with Jennifer Craig, and after the birth of her child, which the girl hides from everyone, there were rumors that it could be the prince's son. In 2017, William became the face of another scandal when he rushed off to the Swiss Alps to have fun at drunken parties in the company of models. One of them, a young model named Sophie Taylor, was seen much too often with him, and there were rumors that she kept the future King of England company late at night. However, since the court and Kate herself remained silent, over time the scandal was hushed up, especially since the Duchess of Cambridge's third pregnancy was announced. Louis Arthur Charles was born on April 23, 2018, taking 5th place in line for the throne. The family of the Cambridges leaves a very pleasant impression. They look happy, adore their children, and try to spend more time with them. All the household adores animals, a love for which was passed on to William from Elizabeth. A Cocker Spaniel lived with the family for many years, and in 2016, a funny hamster, Marvin, joined him. Last year, the couple sadly announced that their dog, Lupo, who was given to them as a wedding gift, had died. However, scandals continued to shake the royal family, especially after the marriage of William's younger brother, Harry, to Meghan Markle. There are persistent rumors that there is bad blood between Kate and Meghan. The Duchess has regularly met with the press, who scrupulously pressed her for the facts, and periodically, news about the conflicts between the two beauties appeared on the pages of publications. It is said that after Harry and Meghan left the UK under the premise of a scandal, others rallied in favor of William and Kate even more, and they also began to participate in the country's affairs with renewed energy. The charitable foundation, which was managed by Harry before his departure, came under their control. And during the time that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge managed it, they raised a record $15 million, actually doubling the figure that the former owner managed to achieve. As for the Cambridge family's monetary situation, the information on it is extremely scarce and scattered. It is known that Kate and William have combined their finances and have been doing so for many years. Some experts manage to estimate the state of their finances at $30 to $40 million. A lot of this went to the prince as an inheritance after Diana's death. It is noteworthy that according to the will, Harry and William could receive this money for use upon reaching the age of 25. However, their grandmother and aunt made unprecedented efforts to rewrite the law, and access to inheritance was postponed for the brothers for 5 more years. From the age of 25 to the age of 30, they could only receive installments, which was approximately $450,000 per year. It is believed that the great-grandmother of Prince William and Prince Harry was going to leave them a part of her rather large fortune, and allegedly they received about $18 million each. Kate is also quite financially secure. The company that produces accessories for holidays and parties, which is owned by the Middleton family, still brings in good income and is estimated at about $50 million a year. Like most members of the royal family, Prince William went through military service as a search and rescue helicopter pilot and received about $70,000 a year until he left the army in 2013. And then he became the first heir to the throne who signed a civil contract. And from 2015 to 2017, he worked as a helicopter pilot for the Eastern Air Ambulance in East Anglia. His job was to help sick and injured citizens who were stuck in remote areas of the country, and his salary was about $60,000 a year, which he transferred to charity. The Crown owns the old mansion in Amner Hall in Norfolk. This Gregorian-style house was built in 1802 and served as the residence of Elizabeth II until she gave it to William and Kate after their wedding. To restore the building and update its interior, it took about $2 million and a lot of work by its new hostess of the house. Together with 2 designers, Kate spent hours looking for suitable furniture. The lovely furnished mansion is hidden from prying eyes and is located next to another residence of the Queen, where the family traditionally spends Christmas. It was in Amner Hall, away from the city and annoying paparazzi, that the family of the second-in-line heir to the British throne spent most of their time until 2017. And now the residence is used as a country house. The Duchess of Cambridge kept house almost by herself. Having a nanny and a housekeeper as assistants, she preferred to cook and go shopping herself, and only in rare exceptions sent a security guard instead of going herself. The Duke, in his spare time from service, liked to bike around the neighborhood. Another gift was given to William by his great-grandmother. The Tamnagar residence, located on the Balmoral State and College, is often called the Cambridge's secret residence. As they stated in an interview, in this spacious house, surrounded by green hills, they spent their happiest days there when they first started dating. The family also has an apartment called 1A in Kensington Palace, which occupies 4 floors of the building and is considered their official residence. In addition to private rooms and servants' quarters, there are several reception rooms. The interiors of the apartments are presented in a classic style, and on the walls you can see many antiques and portraits. William and Kate's car fleet is also great. The prince is an ardent Audi fan, and he even invited the boss of the German brand to his wedding. William has at his disposal a chic R8 sports car worth almost $150,000. Before they had children, the Duke and Duchess preferred to move around in a Jaguar XJ. And in May last year, they put up a Range Rover Vogue for auction, which the car maker presented to the couple in 2013. The car was sold for $30,000. As well-known environmentalists, Kate and William in the spring of 2021 started using their new Audi RS e-tron GT electric car, which they arrived in at the award ceremony for their contribution to environmental protection, which they themselves organized. Even the eldest son of the royal couple has cars. For his birth, the Beckhams gave him a Range Rover Evoque Special Series. Beyoncé and Jay-Z presented him with a Bugatti Veyron, and Elton John splurged on a Rolls-Royce. In total, 13 cars are waiting for the baby in the garage. It is known that neither Kate nor the prince nor their children spend a lot of money on their wardrobe or jewelry. Despite the fact that the Duchess always looks very elegant, she manages to create a winning image while not spending an extreme amount of money, so they can be seen in clothes and accessories of brands such as Zara, Gap, Topshop, and H&M. But what Kate can't skimp on is coats, which she adores. The Duchess often appears in public in the creations from famous designers and can spend from $3,000 to $5,000 on each. On average, Kate spends $128,000 a year on clothes. Another significant item of family expenses is charity. Recently, rumors about an impending divorce of the royal couple have intensified, but it has already been announced that Kate will accompany her husband on his overseas tour this winter. They are expected to visit the Duke and Duchess of Sussex at their new home in California. Meanwhile, William is trying to invest in a personal brand so that he is seen as the future king of Great Britain. Kate helps him, and there seems to be a considerable amount of pragmatism to it. Queen Elizabeth is 96 years old, and the prospect of a change in ruling is becoming more and more of a reality. So what do you see in the royal family's future?
Camilla is the Queen of Great Britain, the second wife of the reigning monarch and a woman who was once a target of the hatred of her compatriots. But she managed to overcome difficult times, find personal happiness, and gain the title of Queen. In this video, we will tell you all about it. From Mistress to Queen, how Camilla Parker Bowles lives and how rich she is. Camilla Rosemary Shand was born on July 17, 1947, in London, in a family of noble descent. That is why her birth took place not in a regular hospital, but in King's College Hospital in Lambeth. Interestingly enough, the medical team that delivered Camilla helped Queen Elizabeth II give birth to her firstborn son, Prince Charles, a year later. Camilla's father, Bruce Shand, was an officer in the British Army and a World War II veteran, and after his retirement, he got into the wine business. He belonged to the upper class, and his ancestors moved to England from Scotland. Camilla's mother, Rosalind Cubitt, daughter of the 3rd Baron Ashcombe, was named the 1939 Debutante of the Year and was a member of the ball attended by King George VI and his wife Elizabeth. There is a curious episode in Camilla's family history. Her maternal great-grandmother, Alice Keppel, had a secret affair with Charles's great-great-grandfather, Edward VII. It is rumored that they may have shared a daughter, therefore the current king and queen might be related. However, even without that, they have a distant kinship, as they are ninth cousins. By the way, it was also revealed that Camilla shares common ancestors with singers Madonna and Celine Dion. A few years after the birth of their first daughter, the Shand family had 2 more children, Sonia Annabelle and Mark. By the way, Sonia became an interior designer and Mark became a travel writer. The children grew up in an 18th century estate in East Sussex under the care of a host of tutors and nannies. They had 7 bedrooms, a living room, kitchen, and dining room, and the grounds included an orchard and swimming pool. Camilla always looked back on her childhood with warmth, saying it was perfect in every sense and gave her the best start in life one could wish for. She was raised in a loving and safe environment. Her father often read to her at night, which gave her a love of books from childhood. But otherwise, the girl grew up a real tomboy. Camilla, or simply Millie, loved playing with the farm children, swimming in the lakes, climbing trees, and spending time surrounded by animals, specifically horses and greyhounds. The only exception she made was on Sundays when she needed to put on a dress to go to church. At the age of 5, the girl was sent to Dumbrell School in Ditchling Village. This place was the opposite of her cozy childhood home. The boarding school was famous for its strict discipline, and students were punished for the slightest offenses. Complaints were punished by whipping, and the classrooms had no heating in the winter. Little Millie endured all the challenges and never once complained to her parents in all her years of schooling. At the age of 10, she was transferred to Queensgate School in London, where girls were taught manners, the game of bridge, and other aristocratic activities. However, Millie refused to conform to the model of an elegant and sophisticated young lady. She was considered a troublemaker, talked freely with the boys about anything that interested them, and once climbed onto the roof of the school to smoke a cigarette. In 1964, the girl left Queensgate, receiving an O-level certificate, and spent the summer learning to drive, riding horses, and just hanging out by the pool. She then went on to study at a private girls' school in Switzerland, and then spent 6 months studying French language and French literature at the University of London Institute in Paris. In March 1965, Camilla was a debutante at a ball in London, after which she began her independent life in the capital. She shared an apartment with a friend and later moved to the affluent Belgravia neighborhood, where she shared a rented apartment with Virginia Carrington. daughter of British politician Peter Carrington. She called Camilla a slob because her bedroom was always a mess. That same year, 1965, at a party, young Miss Shand met Kevin Burke, the 19-year-old son of the vice chairman of Hawker Siddeley, an aircraft manufacturing company. Camilla has always been surrounded by suitors, and Burke was no exception. The girl won him over with her looks and sense of humor. Young couple spent time at cocktail parties, but soon Camilla dumped the guy. Despite this, even many years later, Kevin spoke warmly of his ex-girlfriend. By the way, Burke passed away recently, in August 2023. And while men were delighted with the free-spirited and charming girl, women disliked her. Camilla shocked posh ladies with her sharp tongue, her interest in politics and sports, smoking, and drinking. Incidentally, this prevented her from working in a design agency where she took a job as a secretary. The morning after another party, the girl was late and was fired after only a week of working there. However, it was one of several part-time jobs for the future king's spouse. Camilla also frequently attended equestrian events, went horseback riding herself, and had a passion for painting. She even took private lessons from an artist, but most of her work ended up in the trash. Her other interests included fishing and gardening. In the late 60s, Shand met Officer Andrew Parker Bowles, and they began dating. But the young man didn't intend to be faithful to Camilla. Every now and then, she was informed about his affairs, and once she caught him with another girl. They say that after seeing Andrew's car near her acquaintance's house, in a fit of jealousy, the girl wrote a crude message on the windshield with a lipstick and flattened the tires. After a loud quarrel, lovers broke up, although they often crossed paths at social events, and Camilla started a short-lived fling with a young representative of the banking dynasty, Rupert Hambro. In 1971, Miss Shand met Prince Charles. Many people believe that it happened at a polo match, but official biographers name the place of the fateful meeting as the apartment of Lucia Santa Cruz, a mutual friend who lived near Camilla's house. There is a rumor that the light-hearted girl immediately spilled the fact to the prince about the secret relationship of their relatives and suggested they follow suit. Charles was charmed by the cheerfulness and spontaneity of his new acquaintance because he lacked these qualities himself. The young people became close friends, and soon the friendship turned into a romance. They did not hide their relationship, and when it became more serious, Charles met with Shand's family and introduced the girl to some of his family members. However, after the prince went overseas to join the Royal Navy in early 1973, he and Camilla paused communicating. There are several theories why this happened. According to one of them, the young man himself asked the girl not to wait for him, doubting that he would want to marry in the near future. According to another theory, the Queen Mother did not approve of Shand, and according to a third theory, the prince's great-uncle, Louis Mountbatten, opposed the relationship. But biographers of the royal family agree on one thing. Even if Charles had asked for permission, they wouldn't have allowed him to marry Camilla. She was considered an unsuitable candidate to be the wife of the heir to the throne, and her reputation was quite controversial. That same year, 1973, the media announced Camilla Shand's engagement to Andrew Parker Bowles, and soon, on July 4, they got married. The ceremony at the Royal Military Chapel in St. James's Park for 800 guests was considered the wedding of the year in high society circles. The Queen Mother, Elizabeth II's sister Margaret, and Princess Anne attended the ceremony. Interestingly enough, the groom had tried to win the heart of the Queen's daughter a few years earlier, but was unsuccessful. The newlyweds settled in Wiltshire, having bought Bulliahide Manor in Allington, consisting of 3 cottages, and then moved to Middlewick House in Corsham. In December 1974, the firstborn son, Thomas Henry Charles, or simply Tom, was born. Curiously, the boy's godfather was none other than the Crown Prince. It is believed that this was a great excuse for Charles to appear more often at the Bowles estate, presumably to visit his godson. In 1978, the family had a daughter, Laura. Tom is now a cookbook author and restaurant critic, and Laura works as an art curator. All this time, Camilla and the future king never stopped communicating, at first as friends, but soon they became lovers again. It is believed that in the first years of marriage, Camilla was a devoted wife, hoping that her husband would also stop sleeping around. But Andrew was constantly spotted with different women, and in 1980, Camilla stopped suppressing her feelings for Charles. According to some accounts, it happened even earlier. There was no pretense. The spouses were well aware of the affairs but remained married. In 1981, the prince married Diana Spencer, but on the eve of the wedding he gave Camilla a bracelet decorated with the letters G and F, the initials of their secret names, Gladys and Fred. Even then, Diana knew that the groom loved someone else, and during the wedding trip is said to have found photos of his mistress in her husband's belongings. No wonder the women disliked each other. The Princess of Wales called Camilla a Rottweiler, and the latter referred to the people's favorite as a ridiculous creature in her letters to Charles. After the birth of their youngest son, Charles and Diana began to live separately, and in 1986, their marriage irretrievably broke up. This is what the prince himself said in an interview, calling this date the point at which he resumed his relationship with Camilla. Everyone close to them was aware of it, and in 1992, the rest of the world found out. At that time, Diana's biography was published, and in 1993, an intimate conversation between Charles and Camilla was made public. The prince had no choice but to admit to having a mistress, and a barrage of public hatred descended upon her. In December 1994, after 21 years of marriage, Parker Bowles filed for divorce, stating that they had been separated for many years, and on March 3, 1995, the marriage was officially terminated. Given that Camilla had become just about the most hated woman in Britain, and that her mother had died shortly before the divorce, this was a very difficult time for her. The prince's divorce from Diana soon followed, which was finalized in August 1996. The media's harassment of Camilla only intensified. She was harassed by journalists, and for about a year, she avoided leaving the house. Nevertheless, she and Charles were planning to marry and were working with PR experts to develop a plan to whitewash their reputation. On August 31, 1997, Diana died in a car accident, and Camilla and Charles were again caught in the crosshairs. The royal family was suspected of involvement in the tragedy, and a new, even stronger wave of hatred hit Camilla. To avoid drawing unnecessary attention to the monarch's family, the Queen advised her son to postpone plans to marry, and Camilla once again locked herself at home. Reading and painting helped her to cope with the stress. As she admitted, nothing good came out of the painting lessons, but her life eventually got better. Charles and Camilla first came out as a couple a year and a half after Lady Di's death, but people still believed that Parker Bowles had ruined the marriage of the heir to the throne. To this day, there are those in the UK who dislike Camilla, but over time, she has proven her loyalty to the monarchy and the current king. By the way, she has a calming effect on Charles. Many people close to the royal family have noted this. By the early 2000s, the question of the marriage was raised, and finally on February 10, 2005, the engagement of Camilla and the Prince of Wales was announced. The man gifted his beloved with a platinum ring with a central emerald-cut diamond surrounded by 6 other smaller stones. It was part of the Queen Mother's collection and was given to Charles from Elizabeth II. The value of the family relic is estimated at $288,000. The ring is just one of Camilla's many pieces of jewelry from the Queen Mother's collection. The royal wedding took place on April 9 that same year, 2005, at Windsor Guildhall. Camilla and Charles exchanged vows in a civil ceremony that was not attended by the Queen. As head of the Anglican Church, she could not attend events that went against the interests of the church, and the second marriage after the wedding is just one of those events. The groom's mother, however, attended a church service at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle, and then hosted a celebratory reception. As luck would have it, on the day of this much-anticipated wedding, Camilla fell seriously ill with sinusitis. She literally couldn't get out of bed and was also very nervous, but her sister Annabelle helped her pull herself together and took care of the rest. For the civil ceremony, the bride chose a Robinson Valentine dress made of cream chiffon, and in the chapel, she wore a sky blue floor-length gown and a light coat to match, embroidered with gold threads. After becoming the prince's wife, Camilla received all the titles that Diana had previously held. However, she decided to avoid using the title Princess of Wales in memory of the late people's favorite. Instead, she used the Duchess of Cornwall as her primary title. Camilla enthusiastically took up work for the crown, accompanying her husband on his travels and engaging in charity work. For instance, she became president and patron of more than 90 charities. By the way, despite all the international travel her position required, Camilla is afraid of flying and tries to avoid traveling by airplane. The role of Charles's wife in royal affairs increased over time. For example, her efforts in 2020 to support the UK Health Service were particularly noted by Elizabeth II, and after Prince Philip's death on April 21st, she, along with Princess Anne, Countess Sophie, and Duchess Catherine, became the Queen's main support. By the way, the Duke of Edinburgh during his lifetime transferred to his daughter-in-law several of his significant responsibilities and sincerely considered her a model of fortitude and courage. In early 2022, the Queen announced that upon her death when Prince Charles ascended the throne, Camilla would become the new Queen Consort. That's what happened on September 8 of that year. She now shares the social rank and status of her spouse, but has no authority to execute public affairs. "I have to be by the king's side as a backup," Camilla said about her new status. Camilla was crowned with her husband on May 6, 2023. It was soon announced that, unlike Prince Philip, she would not receive parliamentary allowance. Back in 2011, however, the Sovereign Grants Act canceled all of these payments to members of the royal family. The only exception was the Duke of Edinburgh, so the Queen Consort's expenses are funded by a sovereign grant as before. For instance, in 2018, she and Charles got $1.8 million from it. The Prince and Camilla used to receive a percentage of the income from the Duchy of Cornwall's private estate. Now the reigning monarch is entitled to 25% of the profits of crown property. About half of the amount is known to go to travel and royal events, and a quarter goes to taxes. The remaining amount goes to other members of the royal family, as well as unofficial purchases and the royal savings account. King's wife's net worth is estimated at $5 million. She received about $630,000 as an inheritance, another amount as compensation after her divorce from her first husband. At the same time, Camilla bought an estate in English Wiltshire called Ray Mill for $1 million and kept it after marrying Charles. For a long time, the official residence of the couple was Clarence House in London. This 19th century mansion is part of St. James's Palace and is decorated inside with carpets and artwork. The royals hosted guests in several rooms, including the library, and the windows overlook a beautiful lavender garden. For many years, Camilla smoked, although Charles can't stand the smell of cigarettes. Nevertheless, there was an ashtray and a cigarette case in every room of their house. However, the unhealthy habit had to be abandoned when she developed a bad cough. Charles and Camilla's country home is Highgrove House, purchased by the prince back in the 80s. That said, the estate's gardens are open to visitors from April to October. The property is now technically under the management of Prince William, but he is unlikely to prevent his father and Camilla from spending time there. Besides, the King and Queen have 6 residences at their disposal: Buckingham Palace, which is currently under renovation, Windsor Castle, Sandringham Palace, Holyrood Palace, and Balmoral Castle in Scotland, and Hillsborough Castle in Ireland. Camilla has been spotted driving more than once, but the paparazzi were more interested in the woman herself than the brand of her car. And when she and her husband are on a trip, he's usually behind the wheel, such as in the case of his 1969 Aston Martin DB6 Volante. Camilla made an interesting change to the royal arrangement by replacing the traditional position of lady-in-waiting with the Queen's companion. The position requires a person to assist at official events, but duties will no longer include answering letters and daily planning. Charles's wife likes to spend her free time with her 5 grandchildren. She admits that socializing with them allows her to be in touch with the feelings and ideas of young people. By the way, her grandchildren just call her Gaga. Camilla has always preferred to cook herself, and she also admitted that she could spend all day in her garden. The Queen is against dieting and prefers balanced nutrition. She always has a variety of vegetables, fruits, and dairy products on her table. Some of her favorite dishes include scrambled eggs, baked beans, fish, and mushroom dishes. And for dessert, the Queen loves Victoria sponge cake, ice cream with bitter chocolate, strawberries, and cream. Camilla is an avid dog person. She and Charles have 2 Jack Russell Terriers, Beth and Bluebell. She is also the patroness of the Kennel Club, an organization that raises funds to help homeless animals and oversees a foundation focused on dog oncology. By the way, Camilla used to love fox hunting, but it was banned in 2005. The King and Queen of Great Britain don't mind spending time watching TV series. And while Charles loves Doctor Who, Camilla loves the Danish series The Killing. She even visited the set of the project, where she was given a sweater of the main character, Sarah Lund. While most members of the royal family dislike the series, The Crown, Camilla is more favorable to it. She once met actress Emerald Fennell, who portrayed her on screen. Camilla herself once appeared on the British radio drama The Archers, as well as the TV show Antiques Roadshow, which she watched for many years. Camilla hasn't neglected reading either. Moreover, in 2021, she started an online club called the Duchess of Cornwall's Reading Room, where she shares book recommendations and leads discussions with authors on her Instagram account. In February 2023, the online club was relaunched as a charity club called the Queen's Reading Room. In March 2022, during the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Camilla made a substantial donation to Ukrainian refugees. The Queen Consort calls herself a feminist and focuses a lot on working with victims of abuse. In her speeches, she has repeatedly noted that we live in a global pandemic of violence against women, and that she was aware of similar cases in her own community. Camilla made an amazing journey from an unwanted girl with a controversial reputation, as it was believed at the time, to the title of Queen of Great Britain. Some people hate her, others adore her. How do you feel about Camilla?
As the Queen herself did with such unswerving devotion, I too now solemnly pledge myself.
Charles III is the reigning king of the United Kingdom, who has been the heir to the throne for the longest time in the history of Britain. There were many scandals and personal dramas in his life. In this video, we will tell you all about it. Charles III. How the new King of Britain lives and how he spends his millions. Charles Philip Arthur George Windsor was born on November 14, 1948 at Buckingham Palace, a year after the lavish wedding of Princess Elizabeth and her husband Philip Mountbatten. Charles's father was not present at the birth and was distracted by a game of squash, and when he saw his firstborn, he gave out a funny phrase, comparing his son to plum pudding. The newspapers also reported that the newborn will not become king in the near future, and he may well be 50 or 60 years old when he has a chance to ascend to the throne. These predictions turned out to be even too optimistic for the prince. Later, Charles had a sister Anna and brothers Andrew and Edward. A year later, the prince's father was appointed to serve in Malta, and Elizabeth followed her husband abroad, only occasionally visiting her son in London. 2 years later, Charles's grandfather, King George VI, died, and Elizabeth II ascended the monarch's throne. Thus, already at the age of 3, Charles became the first person in the hierarchy of succession. He was given the title of Duke of Cornwall and then the Prince of Wales, but the formal ceremony took place many years later. Charles grew up a sensitive child and was close to his maternal grandmother, the Queen Mother, who encouraged his love of nature and art. And Winston Churchill, watching him at the age of 3, remarked, "He's too young to think so much." The boy studied piano, trumpet, and cello, although he considered himself to be hopeless in music. What he was really hopeless at was sailing, which his father enjoyed very much. Charles recalled that he constantly received scolding from his dad. In general, Charles's relationship with his father was difficult. Philip often showed cruelty in the upbringing of his son. His reproaches and criticism brought the prince to tears. There was no strong emotional connection with the mother either. According to Charles, she was not exactly indifferent, but detached. At the same time, the prince listened with interest to the conversations of adults. In the Scottish castle of Balmoral, he did it through an outlet in his bathroom, thanks to the ancient architecture of the building. From the age of 5 to 8, the prince received home education, which was handled by his governess, and then the first of the heirs to the British throne began to attend the elite London school of Hill House. He was good at reading and writing, but math was quite difficult for him. Soon his father transferred Charles to the boarding school Cheam, where he studied on his own. But the young heir was much more vulnerable and homesick, often crying furtively, and became a favorite target of classmates. They laughed at his protruding ears, calling him big-eared and Dumbo, after the elephant from the famous cartoon. In addition, the boy was often sick and suffered flogging for violating the rules of the school, which was a common punishment at that time. After that, his father sent Charles to another school where he had previously studied, a public school in Scotland, Gordonstown, which was famous for the rigor of education. From the very first day, the prince became the perfect target of bullying from his peers, and the harassment at Gordonstown was almost legalized and very cruel. Charles endured all this steadfastly and never fought back, only doing a few antics once in a while. For example, at the age of 14, he went to a nearby pub where he ordered cherry brandy, but unfortunately there was a reporter in the establishment. There was a scandal, and the prince's bodyguard lost his job for not keeping track of his ward. Charles briefly interrupted his studies at Gordonstown in 1966, when he spent 2 semesters in Australia. He later called this time the most enjoyable part of his education. Also, the prince participated in dozens of official events for the first time as an independent figure. When he returned to Scotland, Charles was appointed head boy in his senior year, and after graduating from the school with average grades, he entered Trinity College of Cambridge University. There he studied archaeology, anthropology, and history, and also played the cello in the student orchestra. A year before graduating from Cambridge, in 1969, the prince spent a semester at the University of Aberystwyth in Wales and began Welsh language lessons with the nationalist Teddy Millward before formally accepting the title of Prince of Wales. After the ceremony, the heir to the crown became an active participant in the public life of England. He was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Welsh Regiment, and the following year attended a meeting of the British cabinet. In 1970, Charles received a Bachelor of Arts degree, and 5 years later, according to the tradition of Cambridge University, he was initiated into the Masters of Arts. By the way, in different years, the prince proved himself to be a skilled writer. He is the author of many books devoted to painting, architecture, gardening, and ecology. In addition, he tried his hand at screenwriting of some little-known documentaries. In 1971, the young man completed a training course and was officially enrolled in the British Air Force as a helicopter and fighter pilot. Then he voluntarily transferred to the Navy, where he spent another couple of years of his life. By the way, the Royal Air gave up on piloting aircraft in 1994, after he crashed a passenger plane on the Hebrides Islands off the coast of Scotland. In the 70s, Charles took part in meetings of the House of Lords several times and applied for the post of Governor-General of Australia. However, due to the constitutional crisis, he refused this appointment. He also often hosted ambassadors of other states and visited foreign countries as a representative of the British monarchy. And during one such visit to the United States in 1971, a funny incident occurred. President Nixon tried to get his daughter Tricia and Charles together. He arranged for the girl to be seated next to the British prince at all events, which annoyed and amused Charles at the same time. The prince was a ladies' man in his youth. They say he had a student affair with the daughter of the Chilean ambassador, Lucia Santa Cruz, and she introduced Charles to Camilla at one of the parties a few years later. Charles, confident that his family would choose a life partner for him anyway, happily plunged into another non-binding romance. But unexpectedly, even for himself, he fell in love. Charles and Camilla tried to see each other every time they had the opportunity, and they also called each other regularly and could talk on the phone for hours. But Camilla was not suitable for the role of a wife because the future queen was required to have aristocratic origin and chastity. She had neither of them. Elizabeth II didn't approve of her son's choice, and soon he went to serve in the West Indies. And it was made clear to Camilla that she was not a match for the royal heir. In 1973, she married Andrew Parker Bowles, and then the couple had 2 children. And Charles wanted to marry his second cousin, Amanda Knatchbull, but she refused to join the royal family after her grandfather, Earl Mountbatten, was murdered by Republicans. The prince also met Lady Jane Wellesley, daughter of the Duke of Wellington. Rumors about their imminent engagement were actively circulated in the media for many months, but it turned out that the young people quietly broke up. The girl didn't like the attention paid to them as a couple, and she wasn't going to adapt to the archaic rules of the royal dynasty. Aside from writing, Charles was fond of magic tricks and was even accepted into the Magic Circle in 1975 after successfully passing the exam, performing a trick with a cup and a ball. However, it should be noted that his exam was a formality because the certificate of entry into the organization was signed before the audition. After returning from military service to London, Charles began his active engagement in charity work. He founded the Prince's Foundation and 16 other organizations working in the field of environmental preservation and improvement of the urban environment, and hundreds of various socially significant organizations are under his patronage. For example, he supports various liberal projects aimed at recognizing the rights of sexual minorities and small nations. However, Charles was repeatedly accused of the fact that rich foreigners making donations receive benefits and preferences, for example, knighthoods. Nor does he avoid contacting questionable donors, so almost $2 million was transferred to his fund by the half-brothers of Osama bin Laden. In 1980, the prince wrote a children's book called The Old Man of Lochnagar, based on stories he told his younger brothers, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. Later, a short animated film was made based on the book, narrated by the king. Then the story inspired a musical production and even a ballet. Meanwhile, the family insisted that Charles settle down and choose a bride. The list of candidates was so short that the prince even made a joke. Maybe I should change my orientation. Anyway, he offered his hand and his heart to the Scottish Anna Wallis, but she refused. It didn't work out with Princess Caroline of Monaco either. For some time, the prince was seeing Sarah Spencer, but this relationship ended. Then her younger sister Diana appeared on the horizon. She was a perfect match for the royal family, and on February 6, 1981, Charles proposed. Charles didn't even try to hide the fact that he was not in love with the fiancée and answered the journalist's question vaguely, whatever the word in love means, but Diana answered, "Of course I'm in love," despite the fact that before the wedding, which took place on July 29th in St. Paul's Cathedral, they met only 13 times. For the first years, the couple managed to maintain the appearance of a happy family. In 1981, their son William was born, and in 1984, Diana gave birth to Harry. In an interview, Diana said that during her second pregnancy, her relationship with her husband warmed up significantly, and it seemed that everything was fine. But Prince Charles continued to meet with Camilla, and in the early 90s, the extramarital affair was all over the news already. In retaliation, Diana also started dating other men. In 1993, one of the loudest and dirtiest scandals involving the name of the future king and queen consort broke out. A transcript of a very intimate conversation between Charles and Camilla appeared in the media. The political elite, usually loyal to the future king, was shocked, and some openly expressed doubts that the prince was suitable for the role of ruler. Many even doubted that the reputation of the royal family would ever recover. Charles and Diana were already living separately at that time, which also became known to the press. And in 1996, this marriage ended in divorce and the signing of a confidentiality agreement. Camilla divorced her husband a year earlier, and Prince Charles wanted to get his permission from his mother for his wedding with his beloved. But the accident that claimed Diana's life forced him to postpone it. Parker Bowles was disliked by the people. They considered her the destroyer of the family and the culprit of the tragic death of Lady Diana. Charles, on the other hand, reportedly initiated the royal funeral for Diana and quarreled with his mother over it. When the wave of negativity around Camilla and her romance with Charles subsided, they finally married in 2005. For the first time in the history of the British crown, the union was not consecrated by the church, and the Queen was not present at the civil ceremony. The prince's wife received the titles of her husband, but chose to give up the titles of Princess of Wales, Diana's title, using another one, the Duchess of Cornwall. In 2012, Elizabeth II awarded her son the highest honorary title in all the British Armed Forces, Admiral of the Fleet, Field Marshal, and Marshal of the Royal Air Force. And at the same time, the prince's work on the conservation of tropical forests and drawing attention to the problems of climate change was noted in a very original way. A recently discovered and endangered species of the Ecuadorian tree frog was named after him. In his spare time from royal duties, the heir to the throne is fond of polo, loves fishing, and watercolor painting. One of his works can be seen on the label of Scotch whiskey. A watercolor painting of Castle of May was painted by Charles. He was the author of the blend as well. Lithographs of his other drawings are sold at auctions, and the proceeds are transferred to various charitable foundations. Another serious hobby of the prince is gardening. At the age of 33, he ambitiously announced his intention to advance agriculture in the country and really did a lot in the field of production and popularization of environmentally friendly products. In his Gloucestershire estate, he personally began to cultivate beds with ordinary vegetables, and very soon, the estate began to be called the Royal Farm. By the way, many people note that Charles really has so-called farm hands. Even Elizabeth II said that her eldest son has big but beautiful hands with long fingers, and they are not similar to hers or her father's hands at all. Over time, the prince's hobby turned into a real agricultural holding with mini hotels, and many English schools have ecological gardens because of him. The love of gardening sometimes makes Prince Charles look ridiculous in the eyes of the public. For example, he talks to plants and admits that they respond to him, and also shakes branches with each tree he plants. Another of his quirks, he doesn't like pajamas and also hates central heating systems. According to him, they make the air stuffy. Charles is also a big fan of the Harry Potter books and their Doctor Who series. In the summer of 2013, he and his wife even visited the film studio where his favorite TV project was filmed and talked with the lead actors. The heir to the throne was invited to play in the episode, but he refused. However, the prince has already appeared on television. He read children's books, played in the soap opera Coronation Street in 2000 in honor of the 40th anniversary of the series, and hosted the weather forecast on the BBC. He is also close friends with the famous British actor and writer Stephen Fry, and in the late 90s took part in a humorous scene at a concert in his honor. Charles got the role of a waiter, and more recently, the Prince of Wales surprised the audience with his appearance in a reality show about aristocrats. In November 2013, Charles reached his 65th birthday and began receiving a state pension, £110 a week. But Buckingham Palace immediately announced that this money would be sent to various charitable foundations because the prince is already being provided by the state. Those close to the court note Charles's tendency to express his opinion, even if it violates the neutrality of the royal family. And in 2015, it caused a scandal in the press when published notes written by the prince to government ministers showed that he lobbied on a variety of topics, from the war in Iraq to the nutrient content school lunches. Also, Charles, through the government, made it easier to shoot badgers and, in the eyes of animal rights activists, appeared to be an illiterate and cruel person. The next reason to mention the prince's name in the headlines appeared in 2019, when an Australian declared that he was the son of Charles and Camilla. He told the press that he was born in Hampshire in 1966 as a result of an extramarital affair, and was later given up for adoption to a local couple who worked for the royal family. According to him, his grandparents have said many times that he is the child of Charles and Camilla. However, this story went nowhere. The heir to the throne, as expected, didn't respond to the request to do a DNA test. On September 8, 2022, Queen Elizabeth II died, and 73-year-old Charles took the British throne. He could have chosen any of his four names as the throne name, but decided to remain Charles III. The words of the English anthem have already been changed to God Save the King, and soon there will be new banknotes, coins, stamps, and much more with the image of the monarch. As a prince, Charles's fortune was estimated at $100 million, and now his net worth has increased to $600 million. According to experts, the Queen owns private property, including Balmoral Castle in Scotland, and Sandringham estate in England, and also invested millions in offshore accounts. As king, Charles now owns billions of dollars worth of real estate, jewelry, and art. However, they don't belong to him because they are tied to the title and cannot be sold. Charles is now in charge of the Duchy of Lancaster, which owns many architectural and natural monuments and which profits from agricultural land, rental of historical real estate, and financial investments. In total, the county generates an income of $30 million per year. Another package of real estate inherited by Charles is the property of the Crown. This aggregate of lands and possessions in different countries is estimated at $25 billion and brings the monarch about $20 million a year. The king receives only 25% of the profits to pay for his family's expenses, such as travel and housekeeping. And these expenses can be very large, considering that in the 2000s, the prince lived a lavish life. It's reported that his service staff reached 50 people only on foreign trips, and it was even larger at home, up to 85 employees. Perhaps his habits have changed now, especially since the royal family is keen to cut costs. Charles's clothes can't be considered expensive though. He stands for eco-friendly fashion and has been wearing the same clothes for decades. The only problem for him is that he can't always fit into some of his old coats and jackets. At the same time, the fashion experts have repeatedly noted Charles's style, and he himself joked that he was maneuvering between a trendsetter and the worst example of a man's wardrobe. His time to shine comes about every 25 years. The British monarch traditionally resides in Buckingham Palace, but it is currently under reconstruction until 2027. Most likely, Charles and Camilla will remain at their London residence Clarence House until then. In general, the new king dislikes Buckingham Palace and suggests making it more open to the public, holding state banquets there and other official events, but living in other, more comfortable palaces. It is unlikely that Charles will leave his country residence, the Highgrove estate. The prince has lived there for more than 40 years, having managed to repair the house and, of course, build an organic farm on the property. However, the king may have to pay for the opportunity to use this property to his own son, since this is now Prince William's land. Charles inherited his third estate, Birk Hall, from his grandmother. After their wedding in 2005, he and Camilla spent their honeymoon there. In addition, the future monarch inherited the Scottish castle of May from the Queen Mother after her death. In late July and early August, Charles and his wife come there to relax for a few days. And the rest of the time from May to September, the castle is open to tourists. Charles prefers British-made cars. On his 21st birthday, he received an Aston Martin DB6 Volante Series 2 as a gift from his mother and modified it into an eco-transport. Now the car's engine is powered by biofuel based on cheese and wine. Charles received his second Aston Martin vintage Volante from the Mir of Bahrain. However, Charles gave his first wife a compact and practical Ford Escort. Diana used this car to attend polo matches her fiancé participated in. There is an opinion that King Charles III should leave the throne and hand it over to William. What do you think?